This is Kev Millar from the 2004 World Champion Boston Red Sox, and you're listening to Boston's Big Three podcast presented by Ride the Wave Media.
Welcome back to Boston's Big Three presented by Ride the Wave Media. We out here with episode 86 to wrap up 2020. What a ride it has been indeed. It's been something. It's been a if roller coaster doesn't describe it, I don't know what does. Up and down. We've had a lot of departures, a lot of goodbyes, a lot of hellos, a lot of signings. It was an interesting year, Babs. What are your thoughts just as a whole on as we wrap up 2020? What are you thinking?
It definitely like a down year. It kind of just felt like there's highs and lows. Like obviously, like I had my kids this year. That's awesome.
Right.
Like that's cool. Like there's certain positives to this year, but like a lot of negatives. Like man, like it started with the Patriots losing to Tennessee. Like just
Literally.
to start off the year
Yeah.
in the wild card weekend. And then you had that, and then, okay, so we went to the Celtics and Bruins, and, you know, they both were cruising along in February, March. And then once we hit March, that's when the pandemic started,
Crumbles.
COVID happened.
Yeah.
So then not even that, it's like, even at Ride the Wave, like we lost our major sponsor with 1-in-100 because there's nobody going to games anymore. And it hurts me because there are a lot of people here that I wish I could give more and do more with, especially when it comes to money and like going and traveling and that stuff. And you lose that. And it's hard to gain anything back. Like it's hard to get your traction back. And I mean, speaking about that, luckily I'm still in contact with 1-in-100. Like there's going to be something like when things open up, like we're back in business. Like I've been waiting it out, but then you do that. So then we go and we did the pandemic. And I mean, we were running though. We did well in terms of the podcast, which I know it's been slowing down because of the schedules between myself. We had Stafford Matthews now doing his thing, Tyler Miller doing his thing, but Watabe's like the one standing here saying, we need to keep doing this. We need to keep fucking going. And we killed it with interviews this past year. I mean, we had like Ty Law, Pat Fryermuth earlier on, Courtney Fallon, and I'm just plenty of other people, Alex Brandy, Gina Grisham, and we slowed down with the interviews once the Pat season came. But, you know, and then I had back surgery this year.
Sheesh.
I had the kids, and then the Patriots suck. The Celtics got knocked out. The Bruins got knocked out. The Red Sox stunk.
Red Sox never even made it to get knocked out.
They never did anything. So it's just, it's a shit year, a complete shit year. And it's just one of those things like, can it get worse in 2021? Like when it comes to sports,
right?
When it comes to Boston sports,
when it comes to Boston sports,
maybe individually could get worse.
Yeah, you never know.
I might go to jail for tax evasion for all I know. But we'll see what ends up happening. And it's just I really and you know another thing too is I wanted to mention is in the middle of 2020, George Floyd and the Minnesota protests. You know, I won't say the word riot. Protesting. Actually, Brendan, I was watching TikTok the other day and someone had a video of Minneapolis, like in the area where George Floyd was murdered.
Yeah.
And it was, it's kind of eye-opening to see that area. And actually people were saying on TikTok, they were like, please do not make this a tourist attraction. Because whoever was like walking around was just trying to show what it looks like and how the community's trying to heal. And it's still eye-opening. Point where
I visited up there over the summer, so I know like firsthand what that's like. It's like I wouldn't call it like a tourist attraction. I definitely say it's like it is a very important thing, and like you know how like Selma, Mississippi, Alabama, one of the two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly where, but like visiting like monuments for social change. Mm-hmm. Like the South is where that's where it started, like back in the day. But it's just going to be one of those monuments for change.
Yeah, I think that people are just labeling a tourist attraction because, like, say an individual like myself could be like, wow, I want to go and learn, but like they don't want like all these people flocking in there.
Know what you mean.
And to the point too, like say for us at Ride the Wave, like it was an interesting year because it was an election year.
We just lost your audio. Can you hear me? Got nothing. Got nothing. Where'd he go? So lonely out here now.
How about now?
Oh, we can hear you. He's back. Phone call version.
I'll just take this out. I had headphones in. I'll take the headphones out. So as I was trying to say was, at Ride the Wave, you had the election, a pandemic, Black Lives Matter. You had social injustice issues going on. And for us here, like, we have so many different people. Listen, like, everyone's going to have different views where you're Caden Bodak, who is like all the way down here with this most narrow-minded views. But that's how he represents a part of the country. Like, he represents a part of the world. Like, that's how people think. And no offense, Caden, just that's how you think. I think one way. Brendan's going to think this way, or Dito or Jay Lassard going to think this way. Jordan Haddock's going to think another way. So I think at Ride the Wave, with Lance, who I am not Lance, and I'm not Lance, and we had Lance come in, rub people the wrong way. But it was a way to try to get people to talk about these issues going on because they're unavoidable. Especially say George Floyd, you have to say something.
Right.
And whether you're trying to cover both sides, it's hard. It's hard as like
you don't want to be naive.
Yeah, I don't want to pick one side
right.
either. Like, me individually, I don't want to pick one side. And I'll say this, like, it's crazy to see like a James White come out and talk about social injustice, and they put it on the Patriots and people shit on him. And it's like, it opened a lot of true colors out there in America. But I'm glad towards the end, and it's not me saying I'm glad this is all over with. I'm just, sports came back eventually. It kind of sports get your mind off the real topics. I know that sounds stupid because we should be caring about what's going on, but it's what sports really unites people. And you're supposed to have these topics to talk about in between the time, because end of the day, even if me and you see something completely different in real life, we come together because we love Boston sports, and we can actually sit down and have conversations. And because we know each other, we can have legitimate, great conversations. Actually, just thinking about it now, TJ Hujmanzada, if you could go back on that interview, that was great. It was me, I believe, Stafford and TJ. And I was the one asking, at that time when we had the interview, I was asking him about what it's like to be a Black or African-American player, in the league. And he gave us his takes about what was going on. So it's great and I used it as a learning experience. So it's just, we're still going to keep evolving.
Right.
I will say that 2020 was good because Killer Kev's gone. He ain't part of Ride the Wave anymore. As you said, there's people come and go. We've made a couple additions, a couple subtractions. It happens. I'm glad to see Stafford and Matthews get up on its
taken
own.
off. It's taken off, man.
Joe Stafford left us. If you're listening, if you are one of those dedicated people that listens to Boston's Big Three, I'm sure there's a couple of you out there. You reach out to me or you reach out to Brendan, because I said to Brendan, we need another guy. We need another person. We need another dedicated person for Boston's Big Three. Because this is what happened. Boston's Big Three started with myself, GRD, and Tyler Miller. Then GRD disappeared after 10 episodes. Then Brendan Watabe comes right in, and Brendan Watabe becomes the third guy. Then all of a sudden we're like, we still need a fourth guy just in case. And we have Joe Stafford. Then there was a big mix going on. Then Tyler Miller left. Now Stafford has his own show. And now it's just me and you. And that's so it's Boston's Big Two now. So the way I look at it is in 2021, in 2021, I want a third guy on here that we can have, that we are comfortable with, that we can build up. Because look at Tyler Miller is doing some big things right now on his own. Tyler Miller Designs. I'm glad that he's doing that. He is putting his foot in the door at a certain media company that he probably doesn't want me to mention on here. And he's there. Joe Stafford is doing exactly what he wants to do. I brought him to the Combine last year. It was his idea. And at the time we had a sponsorship so we could do it. And he launched off with that. He's thought of an idea with Chris Matthews. They're running with that. They're doing that on their own. I know you help. You're there in the background, but they're doing that. And it just goes to show you, even a guy like Jake Seymour, who's been here since day one, got accepted to Arizona State University for sports communication.
It's the thing. Forks Up, I think.
Journalism.
It's right down the road.
Confused with that right there.
It's like the W, but.
And, you got guys that are still using this platform. Jay Lassard got a tennis matchup. He actually just hit me up and said, hey, like, what are we doing for the Super Bowl? I was like, I wasn't even thinking about that. I was like, let's try to talk it out and see what we can do. And I'm glad that there's at least some momentum from certain places here. I mean, we are just a minor league type of company that wants to give. I mean, I'm minor league myself. I'm just trying to give people an opportunity, a platform just to talk. It's just on you to take it and run with it. And some people have been very successful with it. So there's ups and downs in it. And I just hope, Brendan, for 2021, I just fucking hope this virus, it's not going to go away, but I just hope that in society, we can start accepting it. We're living in it. If you want to go out, you can go out. We need to get back to sports. We need to get back to being able to go out and enjoying life, whether it's concerts, movies, and sports in general. Like, we need to get back out there. And I don't care if they never do another player autograph signing, like, oh, nope, we can't do those for the next 5 years. We can't do this. We can't do that. As long as we can get back out to go to games. I know that you want to go to a lot of Red Sox games. You had a lot of you had a lot of trips planned out.
A lot of flight credit left over now. So it's what 2021. Hopefully we can make something work with it. But
I just want to be able to get back out to Gillette Stadium and be able to go to games. Because I said this to GRD. I said one thing I miss, my account sucks this year because my account, it's been bashing Brady, bashing Gronk, bashing Cam Newton, bashing anybody that
Babs,
does
you're
bad.
a racist because you don't want Cam Newton as a starter. Babs, what's wrong with these hot takes, Babs? Come on.
I just and what I miss the most is just being able to get up on a Sunday, go on my story. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm heading down to Gillette. Follow me today. This is my experience. I go to the game, drink a bunch of beers. You guys live through it. That's what I miss the most about having on my account. So I hope that comes back in 2021.
Yeah, well, just back to some of the stuff you said. You just dropped a whole lot of bombs. I got a few breaths in, but it was an interesting year. Like all the awakening and shining a light on the social injustices of the world. Like that was one of our most successful episodes. We had the special right around episode 50 about the murder in Minneapolis with me, Angel, Dito, Jay, and Tyler. It was a great episode, and I'll share the numbers with you guys when we get them in. But that was a great episode, just like a dialogue conversation. Like you said, like we're gonna have differing views. Like some of the guys, even on that, there was a roundtable of 5 guys from all kinds of different backgrounds, ethnicities, everything. Just having a conversation about what was going on in the world. And I think it was very constructive. And a lot of people reached out and was like, that was something special that we did. And then all the guests that we've had this year, a ton of fun. I know you mentioned some of them, like something you didn't mention, maybe Scalabrini, Shemi Ojale, who's filling his role nicely with the Celtics. But it was a fun year. We're going to get back to doing some more of that stuff here, hopefully in 2021. I think we dropped 60-ish episodes this year, but like you started the episode about, we finished last year talking about, or started 2020 talking about the Patriots losing. And that was, lo and behold, Tom Brady's last game with the Patriots. And here we are again. Let's talk about a Patriots loss again. That's our show specialty at this point. Patriots got embarrassed on Monday Night Football to the Buffalo Bills. Probably the worst loss that I can remember, just because it was a meaningless game. Like the Patriots really had pride to play for. That was it. AFC East was already locked up by the Bills. Just going into it, like you and me have talked about this. We want to have hope in that team. We want to have hope in what Cam Newton was doing, or Jarrett Stidham, who ended up coming into the game. But it's been tough. I feel like I know you do this. I know I do this. I know you probably do it more just because you're posting stuff on your story throughout the game, but where you're just like kind of on your phone, there's a game in the background. That was this year for Patriots football. I was on my phone, just kind of scrolling, reading some stuff. Oh, the Patriots, they fumbled. Oh, Patriots didn't convert third down again. Oh, same old story. But give me your thoughts on the embarrassment of Monday Night Football this week.
First off, I was rooting for them to lose and get embarrassed because the Patriots shunned me from coming to that game on Monday night.
Oh, right.
So that was like my first thought. Like, I was like, I hope they lose 50-0.
Did you curse them?
You guys want to dick me around like that and say, because of my name, you won't allow me in there.
Is there a Spike King curse now on the Pats?
There might be. I mean, you can't dick me around. You can't deny me from fan of the year and then 2 days later be like, nope, we don't want this guy in there when I was assigned by a company to go in there. Like, it has nothing to do with you guys, but it is what it is. Listen, first of all, Jarrett Stidham did nothing to help him help his case. Like, he looked bad. And I will admit that. I will come on Boston's Big Three and admit Jarrett Stidham was ass. He came in there, and can I make my excuses just like everyone else makes excuses for Cam Newton? Absolutely. Andrews left. Calhoun left. The wide receivers looked like they didn't give a shit. No one gave a shit at that end of the game. And this is the third quarter. No one cared. And I will say Stidham looked okay that first drive, but he should have threw like 2 interceptions while he was out there. There was a couple questionable throws. He also threw it in the dirt as well, too. So I admit, like, he looked like ass. If you have an opportunity to come in, you got to take advantage of it. They said there was one bright spot, and it was when he was on the line under center, and he ended up calling an audible. He backed off, and he said, easy, easy, meaning that he knew a blitz was coming. He read it. I think he ended up getting sacked anyways. But in terms of Cam Newton, he looked terrible that game. The one thing you got to give him credit for was being able to drop back, avoid a sack, and run it in for a touchdown. And actually, that looked like one of the longest touchdown runs he's had all year. I harp on it so much.
That was the highlight of the last 3 weeks combined.
I harp on it so much that his runs are not like touchdown. That was worthy of a touchdown. That was him fighting and clawing his way to a touchdown. I don't discredit Cam Newton for his toughness or his grit and grind, because he's trying. He literally has been trying every game. It's not like he does not try.
That's where you run into the problem with, I think, Patriots fans. That's where my dilemma is, because like I know Cam's not the most talented. I know he's not what he used to be in the league. I've seen the numbers. I was like, what, 29th, 30th ranked of all the starting quarterbacks in the league right now. But just seeing the drive, the motivation he has, it's kind of like similar to Tom Brady, but it feels a little more competitive. It feels a little more like, not that he wants it more, just that he's more driven to prove people wrong, just because he's been out of it for so long the last few years, last few months of just dealing with injuries, getting cut by Carolina, nobody giving him a phone call to join their team until the Patriots reached out. So that's where the dilemma comes into play. You want this guy to be good because you can actively see him because of his presence on social media and whatnot, that how bad he wants it. And it just doesn't translate into winning right now. And that is the real shame of the 2020 season.
Well, listen, if you're going to go on social media, Cam Newton, and you're going to say, I'm proving the haters wrong, and you're going to show off with all your hype videos and stuff like that, this is the shit you got to eat when you're down and out, because that's how you get kicked. I'll kick you when you're down out. People want to kick me when I'm down and out. That's how it rolls on the internet. I want to go back to what you said about this being one of the most embarrassing losses that you can remember. So I went on Instagram and I pinpointed 4 games that I can just put out there right now and say, these were the most embarrassing losses, because it rarely happens we get an embarrassing loss. There's a difference between just losing, like Super Bowl 52. Someone's like, that was an embarrassing loss. No,
but that was a competitive game. If you go back and watch the game, that game is insane.
It was a 1-score game. Yeah, it was embarrassing on the defense, but the offense threw 500 yards. Tom Brady had 3 touchdowns and 500 yards. So there's a difference between barely losing like the Denver Broncos AFC title game where they lost by 2 points, 20-18. That there's a difference there but there's a difference there compared to this kind of loss. And when you think about it on the top of your head, the games that I said was the Buffalo Bills game 2003 when Lawyer Malloy went right over 5 days later and they lost 31-0. I mean, that's dating way back. A lot of people probably don't even remember any of that. I was super young anyway. Yeah. And then you want to take the last 10 years, one of the most embarrassing losses was in 2009 to 2010, the year that the Ravens ended up winning the Super Bowl, I believe, where Joe Flacco came in here wild card weekend and absolutely shit on him. Ray Rice had like 3 touchdowns that game. So that was an embarrassing loss. Maybe I don't think they won the Super Bowl that year. So it was 2012 they won it. There was an embarrassing loss for the Patriots then. 2014, of course. So here's a trend here I was thinking too. 2014 Kansas City, right?
That week 1 game? Is that the on to Cincinnati game?
On to Cincinnati game.
Yeah.
But what was the end result of that? They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They won the Super Bowl. So someone says, well, what about last year or 2018 against Tennessee, right? Like that was a bad game when they went to Tennessee. Cool. What was the end result that year? They won a Super Bowl. So sometimes they can have these embarrassing losses. Same thing with the 2003. They won the Super Bowl at the end of the year. So sometimes those embarrassing losses are a complete afterthought. An embarrassing loss is when you literally have nothing going for you on any side of the ball. That was an embarrassing loss because I said, what are you looking forward to when you play the Buffalo Bills this past week? You're trying to see some hope. You're trying to see something that this team has it, a player has it.
Something you can cheer for next year.
And, I mean, Nick Folk missed an extra point. I mean, this guy was automatic. I mean, he was your MVP. You missed an extra point. Your defense is just getting gassed up.
Special teams had a fake punt 2 weeks in a row.
Fake punt. Yeah, special teams got 2 weeks in a row right there. So it was an embarrassing loss. And then it kind of made me laugh because then people were asking, what about the San Fran game this year? That was pretty embarrassing too, because they had a full week of practice.
Right.
That whole COVID thing was out of there. Well, what about the Rams game? That was somewhat embarrassing. I mean, I will give credit to the defense because they tried to hold them in there, but man, the offense couldn't get anything going that game. A lot of embarrassing losses this year. That's 3 losses I would consider that were pretty embarrassing, especially when the Patriots held their own against Seattle. They held their own against Kansas City. They were close against Denver. But towards the stretch of this end of the season, it's just like, is it the players that don't care? Is it the coaching that doesn't care? Are these guys checked out? You already see the QB coach is already gone, right? Josh McDaniels has been floating around about him trying to leave. And he even said that he would take another coaching job, which also makes me think anything that Josh McDaniels says, like, oh, well, you know, I don't trust Stidham, or like we've seen enough. I don't trust McDaniels, anything that comes out of his mouth, because he doesn't care about this team anymore. He doesn't care about what's going on. Is he gone? So when you look at this upcoming Sunday, Brendan, against the Jets, who are on a 2-game win streak, by the way.
They're dangerous. They're hot.
This game ain't a gimme. And it's a 2-game win streak right now for the Jets. And the Patriots are not – it's not like Belichick last week is purposely trying to tank games. They're not trying to tank games. Like, they're not trying to throw a game. The Bills needed to win. They need to keep that second seed. You're getting a very, very hungry team coming in there. And you could tell this team has been pretty much giving it up. When you go against the Jets, you're kind of looking at it a spot where it's like, this is a big game in terms of if you lose to the Jets, there's 4 games right now after that, or during that 1 o'clock game and after, that if those 4 teams win, you end up having the 10th overall pick. So you could go from the 14th or 15th pick to the 10th pick. You could be moving up 5 spaces. You could also be forcing the Jets to move up, possibly. I don't know if they move up any, because they have 2 wins. I don't know if there's another 3-win team right now. But it's just you're forcing yourself to move up a little bit. Right. And that's what makes me frustrating is why not start Stidham this week? Like, what are you going to lose by starting Stidham? So truly, does Belichick really not believe in this kid? Did he know that he fucked up? Is he protecting him? Did he make a backdoor deal with Cam Newton that says, I will start you every single game? That's what we have in our contract, because I'm sorry that, you know, you only got paid this much money and we want to try to showcase you as much as possible. I don't know. And we will never know the answer. Only Belichick pretty much knows that answer. We can always speculate on it, but it's an embarrassing season. Even this Sunday, you just said it. It's like one of these seasons that you just spend on your phone. It's on in your background. Like, what are you even going to watch the game for this Sunday? Like, what's the point of even watching?
It's just the team's just not entertaining. It's like they're running. They may run for 200 yards a game and maybe get 4 field goals a game. That's what we've seen the last 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's heartbreaking. It's just embarrassing. Like, but then again, we got nothing to complain about, man. We've seen what the Pats have done the last 20 years. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
If this team finishes with 6 wins, right? Let's just say they lose Sunday.
Right.
And even if they have 7 wins, to have 6 or 7 wins this season, it's not bad. Like, this team could be way worse than what it is. You have to look at the glass half full, all right?
It makes Tom Brady look even better.
There's 0 chance that this team gets worse next year. It just can't happen. It couldn't happen. It could.
I don't want to say it's impossible too early,
there's
but
no way, based on what they have ready available in terms of draft capital, in terms of cap space and quarterback position, they should be able to fix this and get it addressed. But this is what's going to make it this for us, you know, for Boston's Big Three, or for Ride the Wave Media or Spike King or whatever it is. It's going to make it an interesting offseason, because every move they make matters. Like, they can't just plug hole. Like
there's going to be a microscope over everything.
Yeah, and I won't say it. I was just going to say, I talked to somebody the other day, and I'm not going to say the name, but it has to do with a player, and I'm not going to go any further than that. But I said, be careful what you say and do this offseason, because everything's under a microscope, as you said. the media's going to want a crumb of this or that, and they're going to run with it. I mean, look at this, dude. Dwayne Haskins gets released, and everyone's saying that Dwayne Haskins should come to the Patriots. It's mind-blowing that this is happening so much. So, and I told Stafford, and I hope he does this, is to take every quarterback that's in the league right now and do a little player profile on them. And then I said in March, we should do a March Madness bracket. Have players.
Who's going to be the next quarterback?
Have everyone vote. Put Stidham in one bracket and put Newton on this bracket, and then put a bunch of quarterbacks down, and then have the fans vote and see who the fans want.
That is interesting. We could definitely work something like that. Yeah.
Before they pick somebody up, because the way I look at it is, Cam Newton after this Sunday, he's done. Like he's going to pack his bags on Tuesday and go home wherever he lives. L.A., Carolina, I don't know where he lives. He's going to leave, right? So then what's going to end up happening is Stidham's the only quarterback that's signed on the team, because Hoyer is technically a free agent. So Stidham has to use January and February and the beginning of March to advance himself somehow. And this guy better not fly down to Texas and go take a vacation. Like if I'm Jared Stidham, you better fucking stay here in New England.
He's in the lab.
And grab N'Keal Harry and go out to Gillette every day and go practice and go to the weight room, go study, go film. You have a 2-month advantage over anybody. You have a 2-month advantage over Matt Stafford. You have a 2-month advantage over any free agent or even trades, because no moves are going to be made till March. Like everyone's going to wait till March. So Jared Stidham has the opportunity here at his hands. If he can't take it, you suck. You're done. Like this is it for you. It comes down to him as the individual. I'm still not going to say he's ass. I'm still not going to say that he's terrible, because I still just want to see him in a full game. We haven't seen him in a full game since preseason of 2019. And I thought it was funny, Brendan, that Belichick said this quote on WEEI. Every other quote was on Twitter, but they didn't want to take this quote. They tucked it away in a little article. But Belichick said himself that Stidham's still going to get his opportunity when the time comes, when a good opportunity comes. I put that out I took it and put it on Twitter, and I put it on Instagram because I wanted people to see that Stidham's not getting cut. Stidham's not going to go anywhere. He's still going to have a shot in 2021. He's still going to play in the preseason.
And this Sunday is a perfect opportunity. You're playing the Jets for almost like nothing. Like draft picks aside, this game means this is the least important game for the New England Patriots since a preseason game, maybe the day after they won a Super Bowl.
This is preseason 2021 right now.
Exactly.
This is like, do you want to go out there and see what Stidham has, like in terms of like, what's he like with N'Keal? What's he like with Jacoby this year? Like Damian Harris can sit. Okay, get him with Sony Michel. Let's see them start when the game's 0-0.
Right.
And just put him out there. Like just
see how they can manage the game. Exactly.
And it's just are you not doing it because you don't want to disrespect Cam Newton because he came in here and signed for you for a cheap deal? Like that's the thing I can't get over with. It's just like this kid needs confidence here. John Hallis, my buddy John Hallis would be like, you're ruining the kid's confidence by like putting him in the worst opportune time.
Right.
Like when you're putting 31-7 or whatever it was, or 31-9, and no one gave a shit when he was in there. And like, no one's going to care. And it's also, too, we talked about this way early on, me and Stafford did, of the locker room divide. So at the beginning, when they first signed Cam, who's a Cam guy and who's a Stidham guy? You know what I mean? Like, that's what you have first. And Cam 100% won the locker room. Like, he's got the great personality. He's a veteran guy. And Stidham lost it, right? So I'm saying over a couple of weeks now, it could be the Denver game. It could be the San Fran game. It could be the Buffalo game. If he had owned 90% of that locker room, how much did Cam Newton kind of lose, like, over the season?
Right.
And not in terms of him as an individual, not in terms of Cam Newton, but as a player. Like, where if I'm a player and I'm like, this guy doesn't have it, and we're 2-5.
Yeah.
Like, why don't we just go to the younger kid? Like, you know what I mean? But
Exactly.
Bill keeps sticking with him. So I'm wondering now at the locker room right now what the divide is. Because I'm going to say this. We had somebody on the sidelines at Gillette, not going to say his name, because this is why they didn't want me there. And he reported back to me and said, I was right behind the offensive line on the bench, and McDaniels was talking to them. And McDaniels said something. This is what he could kind of hear. He said McDaniels was saying something, and one of the players said, why can't Cam do that? And McDaniels said, because Cam can't. And the players got pissed. So it's making me wonder, Cam has his strengths and weaknesses, and they're definitely trying to hide his weaknesses.
Yeah, they're self-aware at least.
So it's just one of those things, Brendan, that are you pissing off your teammates? Are you pissing off the team right now? Like, in terms of, who's starting? Like, cut the bullshit. Put Stidham in there. Like, let's just see what he has.
Right.
Like, that's what it is. Like, hey, you want to get – and if he doesn't have it, good. We know he doesn't have it. Officially doesn't have it. Now we can really move on forward.
Yeah. Well, it is something. I'm happy it's over. I'm happy.
Yeah,
We're so close.
Off.
Like, this is the longest season. Like, we've been clawing our way to the finish line since probably week 11. I mean, week 9, week 10, when we knew it was slowing down.
I knew it was over. I knew it was over after Buffalo. After that fumble, that was it.
It's downhill from there. But
you had 3 losses at that point, I'm pretty sure, or Kansas City, you had 4 losses because you lost to Kansas City, Denver, San Fran. So you could kind of be like, all right. But the Buffalo game was the biggest. It was like, you're either staying in it or you're not. And the fact is they were in it. And then Cam fumbled it out of all people to make the mistake. It's you, Cam. And It's like, that's it. There's no way they can play catch up in enough time in the season to get there. I mean, we played the path to the playoffs, and you play this whole, well, maybe they have a shot.
You need so much help, though, if we wanted to play any of those scenarios.
Help, and they weren't helping themselves out, and it wasn't going to work out. So, and even to the point, like, they should have lost to the Jets. They were down 10 points in that game against the winless Jets, where they could have lost that game. They should have lost to Arizona. Like, there's other games that they could have lost at that time.
They won the weirdest games. But moving on to a little bit of a brighter note, the Celtics, they had a pretty good season so far. But since our last episode, they are 2-1, finished a back-to-back. Not back-to-back, but 1-1 in Indiana, 2 games in Indiana, where Jason Tatum tried to take the same exact shot he hit against the Bucks, just didn't turn out the same way. And it makes you question. This is where Tyler would have been great on this show, where you start wondering, like, what's going on out of the timeout. Like, we had 7 seconds on the clock. Celtics had 7 seconds against Indiana. They're only down 1 point. 1 point. They don't need 3 points. They don't need 2 points. They just need 1 point to tie the game. So if anything, you could get it inside would work. Anything mid-range, try to get to the basket, get a layup if you can. Jason Tatum, isolation, 7 seconds, just dribbles it. Step back 3, doesn't go in, game's over.
Well, that's the Kobe Bryant effect, because if you grow up on a guy like Kobe Bryant, you want the ball in your hands at the end of the game to hit the game winner. And I'm sure that there's been plenty of times where Kobe Bryant's had the ball in his hands and he's missed out on the opportunity. I'm sure of that. All right. You're going to remember the great ones. But
there's only been one. That's the problem with Tatum. There's been one and he banked it in.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me last year against Miami. It was a game 2 that he or game 1 where it's like an unnecessary 3 because your son was there. And
you just think back to the game 7 when the Celtics are 1 game away from the finals against LeBron James and the Cavs. Tatum and Jaylen Brown just taking unnecessary 3s when you don't need them yet.
They're playing, and again, you could chalk it up to immaturity because they're just still pretty young guys that have to learn, and you're gonna have to take these shots and miss them, and hopefully they're mature enough to know that was
which one's good, which one's bad.
I gotta be a better game manager.
Right.
That's a situation where it's like, why isn't I know Taco wasn't in that game, but it's like, why doesn't Taco just go into the hoop? Why don't you just have Tristan Thompson or a big guy right under? Just pass it down and let them shoot it. You only need 2 points. I'd rather put it in their hands and have them make the mistake than you make the mistake. Because that's you being a facilitator to your own teammates and saying, I'm trusting you with the ball under the hoop, down 1 point. Just put it up there and try to put a layup in there. Or the same thing, like Tatum, just drive in and draw a foul. You might get that call. You might get that call at the end of the game.
Speaking of trusting him with the ball, your guy, you said this a few weeks ago, Peyton Pritchard. He has become a fan favorite overnight since you said it on the show like 2 weeks ago. The kid has had more ball touches the last week than any rookie I've seen in the Celtics the last few years. But he is something special. The fans love him. Just the thing this week was just trying to decide a nickname for him. Fast PP
what's up with his nicknames? I'm hearing PP, Fast PP, 8 Mile.
So, all right, let's look back. So the Fast PP thing came from his handle. I just love saying it every time. It's fun to say. I think it was his Twitter handle or his Instagram handle, like through college before he got drafted, and he changed it to just his name. So that's where Fast PP comes in. And then Jason Tatum named him 8 Mile after his breakout performance versus Indiana. And then I think Tristan Thompson tried to call him P Rabbit like from 8 Mile too. So I think there's a certain 8 Mile theme, but I think 8 Mile is probably going to be the one that stays because
he's white, right?
Exactly.
He's white in the league, and Eminem's white.
I don't think everyone wants to just run around saying pee-pee all the time. You know what I mean?
I look at it too as again so Peyton Richard, like I said, this team. First of all, you've been like you either post something that's like positive, or you post something negative like the tanking thing. Because I play both sides. I'm like, the Celtics should tank this year, but I really think they're gonna be a fun team to watch. Like, so it's funny you do that. In terms of Pritchard, he's fortunate right now because of Kemba. And with Kemba's injury, he's getting this playing time. So you said it's been a while since you've seen this. It's like Tatum's rookie season, I believe he got a lot of looks because of the injuries to was it Kyrie, and was Kyrie on the team with him his rookie year? Was it Isaiah?
He who should not be named.
Okay, well, the injuries.
It was him though, yeah.
And plus Terry Rozier, I think, got hurt right towards the end of the year. So those injuries help these guys, and that's what you need. So Pritchard right now, you need to take as much as you can, as much as possible, and be a baller, because your time is going to come down when Kemba comes back in, which it's a good scenario for the Celtics, because are you going to throw Kemba right back in? No, you're going to take your time with Kemba, and it's good that you have you're adding depth right now to your bench.
Exactly. Because going into this season, I think a lot of people thought that the Celtics were going to be really guard, light, like they weren't going to be deep at that position. And now going into the season, we've got some talent, especially when Kemba comes back, like you're talking about, whether it be in the next week, next month. The Celtics are going to have some great guards coming in off the bench, especially we're just assuming that Kemba's going to be starting right away. You could slide Marcus Smart over to this 2 spot, have Jeff Teague and Peyton Pritchard coming in off the bench. That's a pretty good combo.
And do you have to rush Kemba back?
You don't.
You don't.
The Celtics look pretty good right now.
So what you can do is, and they have, I believe they have a back-to-back coming up against Detroit. So you have 2 games against the Pistons at the Pistons, and then they have another game on the road. They have a couple games on the road. The Tampa Raptors are coming up as well too. So you go through the stretch, say the next 4 games, you win 3 out of the next 4. You can kind of look at the Kemba situation. You can you can practice. You can be there. We can take our time with you, because we don't have to desperately rush it back
gradually.
And to a point where it's then the All-Star break or the second half of the season, whenever the schedule comes out, and then maybe like, okay, all cylinders go for Kemba. We want to make sure that you're yourself and get ready for our playoff run. And then Pritchard, all of a sudden, you got to look at him. I mean, I look at Pritchard as like your Tyler Hero. Like if everyone's saying that the Celtics missed out on Tyler Hero, and look what Tyler Hero did last year in his playoff run, this is what you might end up getting off of him. I'm not saying that there's the same player yet. I'm not saying it. Just saying that you might end up filling in that role somewhere where it's playoff time, and now the Celtics have their starting guys, and then Pritchard comes right in. And you know what? I heard them talking the other night about, this was 2 nights ago, Romeo Langford. He's hurt right now, right? So
he's got a wrist thing.
They're saying like once he's going to get back in, and he's somebody that needs to, a guy that needs to make a name for himself. He's got to put himself out there a little bit more. So you have a couple young, hungry kids out there on the Celtics that when they get the opportunity, they have to make the most of it, because when you look at the team and the set lineup, it's like, where's my role? What's my role going to be?
That's what was great about. So following those 2 games in Indiana, the Celtics had a back-to-back after the Indiana game versus Memphis the following night, where guys like you're talking about got to get some minutes, because it was a dominant blowout game. The Grizzlies were without their 2 best players in Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson. So the Celtics really just came out of the gates running. Jason Tatum got involved. Jaylen Brown dropped a career-high 42 points, which raised a lot of eyebrows, but fourth quarter comes around. You got 12 minutes of garbage time. So you got all your bench players, all the bottom of the bench. I'm pretty sure every player that was available for the Celtics got minutes last night, including our boy Taco Fall, the guys you're just talking about. Tremont Waters was in there. Carson Edwards was in there. Everyone that's trying to carve out a niche for themselves in the Celtics bottom of the lineup, they got their time. They got to show what they're about, and some of them were better than others. Taco didn't have a great game. Carson Edwards didn't have a great game. We got to see Aaron Nesmith for a little bit, but I think the storyline out of last night's game was Jaylen Brown's 42 points, especially surrounding the Harden trade that could be coming. What'd you say? You patting yourself on the back over there?
I'm patting myself on the back because I'm one of those guys that didn't want Brown to leave. Like, I was like, you got to.
All of us were, yeah.
I put a lot of hot takes out there. I was a guy that said they should have traded Marcus Smart a couple of years ago, but then he got hurt, and I was like, you can't trade him because his trade value went down. And then Marcus Smart ended up being the guy that you needed to keep on this team and keep that team going. I'm patting myself because I know that I would love James Harden here. Like, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to gamble the franchise away with Jaylen Brown. And I said that, and I said that Brown and Tatum are like this now, especially when you got a
fire and ice, baby.
You have to keep those guys together. You have to get those guys together. And it's not really a hot take to say that Jaylen Brown is playing better than Jason Tatum right now. Like, if you want to,
Jaylen Brown's not leading the Celtics, leading the National Basketball Association in scoring as of today, as of right now, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, I mean, Jaylen Brown, and that's what you signed Jaylen Brown for. And so I was talking to GRD about this, and a little credit to him. Like, we're kind of trying to trace back a little bit about Danny Ainge and what they're trying to do. We talked about this should Danny get fired and this and that. So Danny doesn't want to gamble just for one championship. So you can go back to 2008, and you got to look at Paul Pierce in his time. He was already on the team for 10 years at that point, most likely, I believe. So at that time, you have Pierce, and you're like, we need to get this guy somebody now. We need to do something now for him because he's our franchise player. And you went out and got the KG Ray Allen thing. But that wasn't just – and they only won one championship. But that wasn't just for one championship. They mortgaged everything to try to get multiple, which they had the opportunity.
Right.
If KG never got hurt, if Perkins never got hurt, and were a fully healthy team, they might have won two championships and gone to 3. Like, that's what they were mortgaging.
Would you have then been okay with them retiring number 5?
I guess so. I think if they went to 3 and they won 2, it'd be a different story. But, I'm still not okay that they
But it is you do raise a great point, because you look at guys like look at what the Warriors most recently did. That's probably the most recent NBA dynasty that it's still fresh in everyone's minds. It's definitely
Curry, Green, and Clay.
Exactly. Those guys were drafted years beforehand. Like, I think they went to their first finals in 2015, I believe, and beat the Cavs. But Clay's drafted in 2011. Steph Curry's drafted in 2009, I believe. And it didn't happen overnight. You're not going to have a championship team in the next year. Like Jason Tatum, you look back 2018 was when he's drafted. So I'd give the Celtics 2-3 more years before they are ready to contend and make the finals every single year. But when that is the expectation going into the season, and they have to compete and be that dominant force in the league that's ready to take over, go to 4 or 5 NBA finals with the team that they have.
And the Warriors, they did it like that. Right. And they started and they made and they were a dynasty. They're a dynasty within what they did. And you do that. And then all of a sudden you lure probably the second best or the best or whoever you want to, Kevin Durant. You lured Kevin Durant over there to come there. So, everyone wants to say that the Celtics, and I believe it, the Celtics are not a destination. Boston's not a destination you want to go to. Like, it's not a destination that you want to go play for.
You just kind of end up there and win a championship or 2.
So, yeah. All right. So, but if you have Tatum and Brown, and you see these guys, they're developing. Like, this is a huge step for them this year, right? And Brad Stevens is a good coach. So he's not a bad coach. He's above average coach. So you have that, and you look at that formula, and again, if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals but don't get to the finals, and they kind of know they need something, but they could go out to free agency if there's a certain free agent and say, hey, look what we're building over here. I mean, we're contending. Do you want to go play for a shitty team and not make the playoffs?
Right.
But what's tough I think what's kind of tough too in the NBA is the money. Like, a lot of players get paid big money. That sucks. A lot. Like it's just the money's all over the place. So what's the desire to truly win a championship nowadays for these players? Right. I mean, Russell Westbrook, like, if you look at him, he might never touch a championship, and he just wants to make money. Like, James Harden could be in
I just want to stop you there for a sec. Have you seen what the Wizards have done so far? Russell Westbrook has 3 triple doubles, 0 for 4. He kind of did that with the Oklahoma City Thunder a few years ago, and we gave him the MVP for doing what he's doing exactly right now. How does that make sense? In what world does that make sense? But moving on from basketball, it is still 2020. We're going to wrap up here. So we have to end on a negative note because it's our last show of 2020, right? So our hockey fix of the day, big man Zdeno Chara, a long time, I think 12, 13-year captain of the Boston Bruins, signed today, hours ago, with the Washington Capitals. in the final gut punch. And when you thought it couldn't get any worse, 2020 just comes back swinging. It's like a McGregor fight or something. When you think one of them's down and out, they just roundhouse kick you to the noggin to win the fight. But it has been a brutal year just for departures alone. It has definitely been one of the worst years of departures in Boston sports history. When you look at guys like Tom Brady, Mookie Betts, just guys that are generational talents that you're never going to see someone like them again. Leaving with Gronk, Gordon Hayward, Brock Holt, Torrey Krug on the Bruins. It's just all these guys that have found their way out of Boston somehow in the last 12 months has been heartbreaking. It's like all these guys you grow up watching, like Tom Brady's my childhood, Tom Brady's your childhood, seeing Gronk from when I was a kid, and just being able to cheer for Mookie Betts the last 5 years, and just seeing all these guys depart, find their new homes, and kind of move on and watch them be successful in the case of Mookie and Tom.
It's kind of like with Brady's situation, if you had a brain, you knew he was gone. Like it's, I know a lot of people wanted to hold on to the hope and this and that, but I mean, after that Tennessee loss to start the year in 2020, you knew it was over.
You knew there was something was coming. Something was fishy, right?
And in terms of Zdeno, it's the same situation. They've been putting around the last couple of years saying like, maybe it's time to move on from this guy. Maybe it's time to move on.
Right.
And it's unfortunate because I felt that Blues championship where they lost, it's like, that was it for Zdeno. Like that was your last opportunity.
I figured he would have retired. Like this one was I think tough. This one is different than the Tom Brady one where you kind of expected, you knew Tom was going to want to play again. I think Zdeno is older than him.
And people should not forget either that Zdeno Chara didn't start with the Bruins. Like he started with Ottawa Senators. So it's not like he was raised in the
Bruin
system.
For life.
Came here. He'll
be Hall of Fame with the Bruins though.
Yeah, he will be. And absolutely. I mean, he's just going to do these 1-year stints until his body gives up. I mean, I look at Zdeno, and some people said he should retire, but I look at him as he goes to the Capitals. So it's kind of like, all right, you're bringing a veteran in for the game. He might know a little something about the Bruins and their game plan, especially when you want to play the Bruins down the stretch. Just bring some knowledge. It's again, bring a locker room guy in there too.
And an intimidator.
Zdeno, not being a captain anymore, that's not his team. He's going in there. He might be a little bit more relaxed. Like, all right, let me enjoy my last year or 2 years playing hockey. Like, let me just enjoy this time. And he's not going to go out there and play freaking 25 minutes a night. Like he's going to have a very relaxed type of feel to him. And he could also be a guy that develops some of the younger kids that come into the league as defensemen. So,
he's done that with Patrice Bergeron, and he's in line to become the next Bruins captain now. So you can definitely, if you had something like that in Washington,
Patrice absolutely deserves the captain. It's like he's been an assistant for 10 years. Like he's been the guy. Yeah. He's been crazy, and he deserves to be the captain finally. And I'm glad that it's almost like Zdeno should have gave up his captainship almost after. I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
I gotcha.
It should keep the Bruins mentality, hand it off. He should have handed it off while he's with the Bruins. I don't know how the captain thing works out like that, but it should have been handed off like that. That's my opinion. But we'll see what happens with the Bruins. It's unfortunate for Zdeno not to have the send-off. Like if you knew that it was going to be his last game in the playoffs last year or something like that, I'm sure they would have did something special for him. And even this year, if they were coming into town and you have the fans there, he would be celebrating. No one's pissed off Zdeno's with the Capitals. It's unfortunate that he's not going to have the send-off. It's just
another gut punch. It's like you didn't see it coming, but it hurts still.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that'll do it for 2020. Thanks for riding with us.
I want to say, can we go one more thing?
Yeah.
You said beforehand, name your top Boston sports moments in 2020. Okay. So I sat down and thought about it, and there really wasn't any good Boston sports moments.
Some low lights, a lot of low lights, a lot less highlights.
It was all low lights, and you really can't sit there. If anybody listening, you sit there and think, what was a good Boston sports moment this year? Because there was not even
it's hard.
There's not a Boston Marathon. The Patriots go sport to sport. And on a good note, but the Red Sox suck. The Red Sox were nobodies. You got Alex Quarterback. Congratulations. That's your top moment is getting quarterback. Then you go to the Patriots. They lost wild card last year. You lose Tom Brady. You see Rob Gronkowski go back. You got Cam Newton, which you're excited about. Your highlight probably was the Seattle game, which they lost. And it's just like, that was it for the season. I mean, they never recovered, never financially recovered after that. And then you look at the Bruins, they were hot team going towards March. Then everything kind of gets shut down. Then all of a sudden Tuukka leaves the bubble and you just kind of were like left flat. It's like that team had something if they were able to continue the season. And now Zdeno's gone. So the last thing I'll say is the only bright spot in 2020, and I'll steal this from GRD because I asked him about this too, is Jason Tatum's development. It's like, that's the only bright spot that you can see. Jason Tatum finally became an all-star this past year. Last February, he was an all-star. And you look at his and between the Kobe death, RIP, but Tatum trying to take his game to another level. And again, the Celtics, I think if they were able to play a full-on straight through into June, probably had a legitimate chance to make the finals. But the fact is that they even went to the bubble and they still were a somewhat competitive team out there. And you still had something there. So, and you see what Tatum is, and if anything, Tatum signing an extension, like that was huge. Like that's the best news you can get, because I've been Mr. Negative and say, this guy's gone. Tatum's going to leave. Tatum's going to go to LA. I don't believe he's going to stay. And they end up signing Jason Tatum, in the right before the season started. They sign him to an extension, which gives you hope as a Boston Celtics fan to be like, oh shit, we have Brown locked up, we have Tatum locked up. That's
one of those things. At least we have the Celtics to give us some highlights from this year. Because I think probably my top moment is, it wasn't a super exciting game, but the Game 7 versus the Raptors when the Celtics punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think that was probably the only taste of championship we've had this year as Boston sports fans, where we're so used to it for the last few years. But you got any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I just hope everyone has a safe New Year's Eve. If you listen to this on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, I hope that your gambling goes well for the college bowl games that are out there on New Year's Day. I really do hope that 2021, there's some sort of turnaround. Don't be like, what's the word I'm going to say? Don't think it's just going to automatically be good. Right. I mean, we're still going through shit right now. It's still going to keep going forward. So just hope that, in 2021, I just hope we can go back to games. I just hope that we can start going to games. And
that's one of my things. Next week, me and Jay Lassard, we're going to Celtics Raptors down in Tampa Bay.
I was going to hit up that girl outfield and end zones, and I was actually going to ask her how it was down there.
Okay.
And Jay's going to be at the Super Bowl. Like, he's going to –
really?
I think Justin Zolat's flying in. I mean, the Super Bowl's in Tampa, so I think Jay's going to end up going to go into the area. I gotta start looking in for him and see what I can find down there for the Super Bowl. But, I mean, with the pandemic and COVID, I don't know what the hell's going to be open, but – he said that he's going to try to grab some content with that as well too down there. So it'll be interesting. And Angel will be down there, I'm sure too.
The center of the sports world, man. It's crazy how easily it flipped. Just follows Tom Brady wherever he goes.
I know, it's crazy, right?
It's something. Well, thank you guys so much for rocking with us, listening in, tuning in, watching, listening, wherever it may be, on the way to work, in your room, watching TV, listening to us so you don't have to listen to Patriots football. It's been fun. Good riddance 2020. Blessings and riches.